give me an idea of the timeline. So when did you start to roll out into the market? You said you joined the company in 2017, but I think that was initially as an advisor. So when did you take over, and what does the ramp look like? Give me just sort of a sense of that.
Right. So I took the CEO role in 2018.
Okay.
So yeah, the ramp looks like this in the sense that, yes, we were generating some revenues and I had to carry the company. And then, so historically, the company had raised 1.1 million in equity when I joined, and then I'm doing this follow on, so additional 1 million, so 2 million in total. Now, as far as revenues, we've practically doubled in the last 2 years. It was about 90,000, 189,000 in 2019. And this year we're tracking, initially, we haven't seen much of a hiccup in COVID, but there is some hiccup. So we're tracking at 300 to, I want to say 300 to 450. It all depends. It's a wide range, but that's a ballpark estimate for this year. So that's how we're ramping up. But we have so many industry relationships in place, and these are concrete relationships. So one of the things, the aspect of us scaling is our product is so good now, I have an immediate need to expand the sales team, and we don't have to have a full sales force. We could scale this with 2 or 3 people or maybe 4, and I just need a couple more customer success. What's happening is we have strategic relationships with many of the medical device companies, some of them to the point where we're ingrained into their sales channel, meaning their sales reps are actively now referring practice to us, largely because if you think about it, when I explained about the neuromodulation aspect, prior to WellBrain, it would take maybe 2 to 3 months on average to get approval. With WellBrain in some states like Texas, physicians are getting approval in 2 days. So indirectly, if you think we're a sales augmentation of these entities, but we're playing very careful, all legal, because we don't want to violate any inducement or anything. There's nothing like that. It's just because WellBrain is very effective in that. So what's happening as a consequence for scaling is their sales force is becoming our sales force.
Right.
So before we used to grow largely through conferences and word of mouth. Now it's our physicians actively inbound requesting us and saying, can you set up a referral program, because they're motivated? And then we're going to get a pipeline of customers through these channels. And if you take the 4 largest medical device companies in this space, these are the Abbotts, the Boston Scientifics, the Nevros, and several others.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big distribution channel. And then what will happen is, it's happening right now as we speak, as we channel that scale up, we're already starting to attract, as expected, some smaller hospital systems. So we're working on some smaller contracts. There's an IDN, which is a type of hospital network, if you will, in Southeast Tennessee called Ballot Health Systems. So once we get to that level, we're slowly moving into the enterprise space. But these hospitals wanted to see the validation through our distribution of physicians. Right now, we have about 150 physicians contracted it, and maybe 50 to 60 are using it actively. The rest will follow through accordingly. What happens is usually you sign on a practice of 4 to 5 physicians. One will use it, and then over time, the second one will use it, and the third one.
Right. And as they talk amongst themselves, it goes exponential.
Right. So I will tell you one thing. I've with this small team, I physically haven't met, which should be the case with any digital or technology solution, 90% of my physicians or customers.
Right.
Never. Right. The only time I met them is if we're at a conference and they recognize us, WellBrain, it's like, hey, so it's kind of interesting that way. So it is digital. The other significant thing I will say in this COVID environment is we're enabling many practices to become relevant, and even hospitals to also get these secondary revenue streams in place. And these are to the tunes of, for a hospital system, may be small, but it's still beneficial because you're actively tracking patients. But on an average provider basis, we charge a software as a service model. And think AWS, as we introduce more of those services, like I was saying, we can charge more for each service. And so our same store sales will increase, but anywhere from $600 to $1,000 or even up to $2,000 a month, physicians pay us, and they can generate anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 or $15,000 a month, depending on if they do these outpatient procedures or not. So there's a lot of pluses, and you're also getting improved patient satisfaction or patient outcomes, if you will. So, yeah.
And I think the fact that, now there's such a large focus on telehealth and patients wanting that immediate access, they can give their pain scores right away to the doctors, and they can check, on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, even without having those scheduled appointments. I think all of that is working in your favor. The telehealth system is working in your favor. So I think that's very important in this COVID era.
We think of us as a second order telehealth solution.